Hi guys, I really fear that Labour's approach to Reform UK in general, and Nigel Farage in particular, runs the risk of copying the failed attempts by the Democrats to counter Donald Trump. The DNC in the run-up to the US presidential election attacked Trump over his plan to destroy democracy, his involvements in what can only be described as a coup attempt, his cozying up to dictators, and both his moral and financial crimes. None of that worked. The Republican won because the public were not happy with Joe Biden and his party. So when Harriet Harman said this when she appeared on a Sky News panel, I was tearing out what little hair I have left.
Harriet, it's not just the Tories who have to be worried. Mr Farage is after Labour seats as well. And I think the number now was they came second in 89 seats to Labour. How worried should the party be about the threat, or the challenge, I should say, from Farage?
Well, I think people should be very concerned about reform because they're not just a threat to individual parties, but I actually think they're a threat to democracy because they are offering easy answers to real problems, which are not a solution and will just increase people's distrust and disillusionment. But I think the shadow minister who you had on was really in denial about the situation. If you look at the council by-election results, and I'm afraid I look at them every Friday morning very anxiously after the Thursday council by-elections, what they show, I know, is that they show a real fall in Labour's support. If you look at the percentage change, it's not just about who's won, it's who's voting and what the percentage change is. And reform from a standing start is like gaining 40%, whereas the Labour's down, but the Tories are massively down as well. And I think that the main threat to reform currently from reform is to the Tory party. And what I didn't see is any acknowledgement, and we haven't seen this either from Kemi Badenoch, that reform is a problem. They're saying it's not a problem until they say, look, we're really up against it. They won't start dealing with it.
Okay, so first of all, describing Nigel Farage and Reform UK as a threat to democracy is correct. But it's not going to convince people to vote for the Labour Party. It's not going to convince people to vote for the Conservatives or the Liberal Democrats, if that's the plan. So I don't know if this is just an off-the-cuff response, but if this is the official response, then we're in some serious trouble, because we saw it in the US, how the Democrats thought, okay, what we'll do is we'll just paint a terrible picture of Donald Trump. We'll expose his lies, we'll show the public that he's a criminal, that he's immoral, that he's corrupt, that he tried to bring down democracy, and that should be enough to convince people not to vote for him. And it failed dramatically. So I really hope this isn't the plan that the Labour have. Now, if it's to rely on, what'll happen is Farage and the Conservatives will, knock lumps out of each other, and they'll be distracted from challenging Labour. That may work in the short term, but what happens if the Conservatives decide we actually want to form a coalition with Reform? We want to engage in tactical voting, or we want to join the two parties together, want to have a merger. Or what if we're going to see more and more support from the Conservatives go to Reform? Then it could become a massive problem for Labour. At the moment, Harriet Harman is correct. It's more a problem for the Conservatives than it is for Labour. But that could change. And hoping that, people don't like Nigel Farage and that will be enough. No, it will not be enough. I keep saying elections are referendums on the incumbent. If you're not providing people with some improvement in their lives, they're going to vote you out. And it doesn't matter if GDP is up, it doesn't matter if you're doing wonderful trade deals, it doesn't matter whatever. On the surface, if people don't feel better off, they're going to kick you out. And Labour need to understand that, and they need to work towards providing a better life for people. Even something gradual, something small, but it has to be broadcast on a daily basis. This is what we're doing to improve people's lives, and it has to be something that people feel. It can't just be for show. If they do that, then they will thwart the threat from the Conservatives and from Farage and Reform. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.